years ago lived a man named Julius. Julius was very hardworking, a successful businessman. For years, Julius had worked in Lagos as a contractor and have built a good life for himself and his family. He was married to a beautiful woman named Zaram. He had three sons. Julius had his business scattered in different parts of Lagos. He also had houses and a beautiful house where he lived with his wife and children. So he had lots of savings. Having worked as a contractor for many years now, he was a well-known contractor in Lagos. He was living his dream life. Beautiful wife Zaram and their three sons, who he made sure he gave a very comfortable life. Zaram had always loved a soft life, came from a comfortable home. A few years in the university, he lost her father. Her mother had to struggle to take care of her and her two brothers. Since Zaram got married to Julius, Julius provided her with all she needed. He had a beautiful car, owned luxury dresses and bags, beautiful jewelries. He was outstanding, classy among the other women. Julius's business took him all over Nigeria and sometimes outside Nigeria. Everything seemed so perfect in their family. But one unfortunate incident happened that would change their lives forever. Julius had some investors who came all the way from the Caribbean, thought they were real. They have offered him some mouth-watering offers to do some business with him in their country. He was running into millions of dollars. Julius had thought this was a breakthrough in his life and business, and without researching and due diligence, he fell for them. A few months later, he was swindled of over 400 million naira. And this money was not only his, borrowed from his friends, he took loan from the bank, and also his personal money. These fraudsters connived with some Nigerians he had done business with in the past, thinking and hoping they were real investors. Disappeared with all the monies, leaving no trace behind. This shook Julius, breaking him down. Really a hard time for him and his wife. In a few months, Julius sold off all his houses so he could pay the bank loan and some of his friends. The money was still not enough. The case was later taken to court, and after the judge gave his judgment, Julius still could not meet up with the bail terms, so he was sent to jail. Zaram did all she could to stop Julius from going to jail. So all her efforts were futile. She sold her business, sold her jewelries, expensive luxury bags and shoes. So she had to travel with the money she made from these sales, her three sons, to the village, as their personal house was also confiscated by the courts as one of the bail requirements. She sought for help from some of their family friends who have also been affected by this scam. Life in the village was not easy for Zaram, who was born and bred in the city of Lagos. She had only traveled to the village during festive seasons, and that was all. She never saw herself coming to live in the village, and not in this condition. Mama Julius was kind to her and her grandchildren first time they returned back, but a few years later, she died out of heartbreak as the shock of Julius going to jail badly affected her health. Julius was her first son and also the breadwinner of the family. In a few months, Zaram had to join the other village women to work in the farm. She also joined their neighbors to the stream and the village market, where they went to sell fruits and farm produce, as the money she made from selling her jewelries and some of her luxury bags and shoes was spent on feeding. 3 years later, I was able to save up some money. Her husband's younger brother, Edozie, based in Asaba, his family also supported her with some money so she could start a foodstuff business. Soon, the foodstuff business was thriving. Before now, Zaram had thought about moving back to the city. She was now doing well for herself. She was already making enough money to send her sons to school, provide for their basic needs, and also have some savings. She chose to stay back in the village. Meanwhile, in Lagos, it's now 9 years since Julius have been in the state prison, but they have heard from him, and he has not heard from anyone, including Zaram, his wife. A fateful afternoon in the prison warder in his late 50s, after the roll call Saturday, was heard shouting, "Who is Julius Ume? Julius Ume!" And one of the notorious prisoners, called Mr. One Eye, kicked Julius. "No be you then they call this old man, no. Be your name no be Julius Ume again." Julius was lying on the bare and hard concrete floor. He had been sick for some time now. The medications the prison clinic administered to him was not very effective, and for some time now he has been managing his health. Old man, go answer your call, Jerry. Mr. One Eye screamed at Julius, who managed to his feet and slowly walked to the gate. Oh yeah, follow me to Oga's office. So they both walked to the controller of corrections office. As they walked, Julius had thought it was those usual calls from the prison warden. Maybe they had decided to take him to the hospital for better treatment. When he got to the controller's office, he was told the governor and the state judge visited the correctional facility a few days back, and Julius was one of those prisoners that was granted a pardon by the governor. After going through his case file, he was one of those prisoners that could not meet up with their bail requirements. At first, Julius was confused. He was lost. He could not believe it was true. Julius, just thank your God. You're not a free man, no. See your shirt and trouser. Also, see the diary you gave to us, the prison warder said as he handed to Julius the diary. Julius still looked shocked. He thought it was a prank. Not until he saw himself out of the correctional facility gates, reality now dawned on him. He stood at the gate, confused, not knowing which way to follow. I have not seen his wife for over 9 years now. Where could they be? He had no money on him. As he walked along the road into the market, he knew he looked awkward. With the glances of the people, he asked for alms. Fortunately for him, a few people showed him compassion and he was able to get money, which he used to transport himself to his old house. But when he got there, he was told that his wife and children have traveled back to the village over 9 years now, and that the house have been sold off by the court. This hit Julius so hard. He felt this pang of pain in his heart. It was so deep. Sat on the ground, helpless and wailing like a child. After all the years he has spent in the prison, he has lost everything. His wife and kids now in the village. He was sick, needed urgent attention, but who would listen to him? He had lost all his friends, also victims of the scam. Where do I start from? No friend. I have nothing to fall back on. This house that I hoped that at least with this, I can have a roof over my head with my family. No more. Julius cried bitterly throughout that night as he sat under the bridge. He had never imagined himself sleeping under the bridge. He had always thought the bridge was just for touts, beggars, and bad boys. But few days he spent under the bridge met some responsible and educated, frustrated people who are also living under the bridge like him. These men had nowhere to go to, had no help. They've lost everything. Some just newly came into Lagos. And this taught him a great lesson about life, that no condition is permanent, and that he should not be too quick to judge people. He tried to talk to some of his friends, but they were still angry and believed that he scammed them of their hard-earned money. They have lost trust in him and told him to carry his cross. Julius was left with no choice, had to return to the village. One night, he took a night bus from Lagos and arrived at his village, Ameekwe. Their bus arrived in village motor park very late at night. It was a long and tiring journey, and Julius decided to sleep at the car park so he would continue his journey to the village. The next morning, as he walked straight into his father's compound, he knocked at the door. Zaram opened the door, her eyes widened in shock. Julius, she screamed. What are you doing here? Looked at him from head to toe, her eyes scanning his dusty slippers and wrinkled shirts and trousers. Julius, what happened? She quickly asked. Zaram, are you not happy to see me? Zaram, why didn't you come to the prison to see me? Well, the governor gave me a pardon. I am free. I went to our house and was told the court sold the house, that you and the children in the village. Zaram, I have nothing. His eyes teary. May come in now, Julius said as he pushed his way inside the living room. Zaram was taken aback. She did not hug him. She did not cry. Neither did she show any excitement. She just stepped aside and let him in. Their sons, in their bedroom, overheard her voice and came out, only to see Julius. They screamed and went and hugged him. Eldest son Ebuka asked, Dad, are you fine? You look sick. Dad, so sorry about the unfortunate incident. I'm glad you are back. The boys all stared at Julius like he was a stranger. Well, welcome, Zaram said after a long silence. I was about leaving the house before you returned, so let me be on the way now. Their 3 sons quickly joined her to the market that morning, leaving Julius alone at home. No one bothered to ask if he had eaten, just left. That morning, Julius lay on the floor, using his bag as pillow. He had managed to have his bath that morning at the car park before returning home. He laid down, waiting for Zaram and their children. He waited till evening. It hurt more than Julius imagined. Nobody cared about him. However, as days passed, Julius remained in the house. Ram never said a word to him. He only gave him food once a day. Even when Julius offered to help with chores, Zaram would decline. Please don't touch those wrappers with your filthy hands. Their sons stopped calling him dad. They called him that man. From that time on, Zaram would cook most of the time, but only for herself and their sons. Julius had to eat from the leftover crust of yam and other fruits, which she made for herself and their sons. Thank God for their neighbors who saw his plight and took pity on him. They would steal out whenever Zaram had left the house to offer him some food. They noticed how harsh Zaram and their sons were to him, and their neighbors Mama and Kem tried to talk to Zaram. Please, Mama Ebuka, I know this is your husband, but I've noticed that since his return, things have not been well between both of you. Please, Mama Ebuka, reconsider your actions towards your husband, father of your sons. Please take care of him. He looks sick. It's attention. In it. Why don't you mind your business? This is how you people walk about, poke nosing into people's affairs. Busybodies. Zaram replied coldly. One morning, Julius asked Zaram, Mama Ebuka, I noticed that since my return, you have changed towards me. You hardly greet me in the morning. If I don't greet you, you will not greet me. It's just that. You give me food whenever you like. Treat me like a trash. You don't even care about my feelings. Zaram, please, I want to ask, why are you treating me like this? You know, for the longest time, I've been asking you to buy some medications for me. Coughing hard for some times now. I want you to remember that I'm your husband, father of our sons. I just watched the way you have turned them against me. Zaram, I'm here back in the village, not because I like it, but I have no choice. If everybody have turned their back, me, should you also? Zaram, I want you to remember that I did not deliberately bring this upon myself. Life happened, which can happen to anyone. Please, don't turn your back on me. I need you now. Zaram had been on the phone, talking with some of her customers, and she had pretended as if Julius was not there. After the long calls, she looked up from her phone. Julius, I get am before no be property. Where have you been all these years? Haven't I tried for you? Been the one taking care of our sons all these years. Do you know how I've been able to survive in this village? You know I still don't believe your cock and bull story about how you were scammed by those investors. You have always been a greedy man. You wanted to reap where you did not sow. Went and gambled with people's money, and Nemesis caught up with you. And you are here asking me, why are you treating me like this now? Dear Julius, be very careful. Oh. You give me any money to keep for you. You better go and work in the farm and get your own money. After all, you are the man of the house. Since you are back, you should assume your position as the man and take care of your children. I'm hissed and walked out of the sitting room. Julius kept quiet. His chest ached. So from that day, he swept the compound every morning, washed his clothes. He would go and farm for people and would sit under the mango tree and watch other men pass by, looking clean, proud, and respected by their wives and children. His friends in the village avoided him when they heard he was now an ex-convict. Just that, he lost everything. Even his younger brother, Tie, who used to admire him, his only brother, who he sponsored through the university, now walked past without greeting. Even the last time he returned to the village for Xmas celebration, he never bothered to greet him, nor did he sympathize with him. He pretended as if he was unaware that he went to prison. Nobody asked how he survived. Nobody cared. One afternoon, Zaram's friend came to visit, and Julius was washing clothes at the backyard. Two women sat in the living room drinking malt. Zaram, so you mean that man I saw at the backyard washing clothes is your husband? I cannot believe this. So Zaram laughed mockingly. Don't bother yourself about that riffraff. What can I do now? He is the father of my sons. See, Angela, if I know what to do now, he would leave this house. I will do it. Brought nothing to me but shame. Like me, Zaram, now the wife of an ex-convict. What's that? But a poor one, poor church rat that cannot even feed himself. Please, let's continue with our gist, I beg. I don't want anything that will spoil my mood this afternoon. I'm coming. Let me go and bring chin chin for you, Zaram said. She stood up and entered the kitchen. Julius stood still as he overheard everything they said, his hands in the soapy water, his heart sinking. When Zaram returned with the saucer with Chinchin inside, her friend kept talking. If I were you, I would send him back to where he was coming from. He should be a provider, not a parasite. My friend, well, I'm still thinking of what to do with him, Zaram replied, as they munched on their snacks. That evening, after Zaram saw her friend off, warned Julius to stop wearing his old clothes around visitors. You know you're embarrassing me and the family. Julius looked at her sadly, his eyes filled with pain and disbelief. Zaram, but this is my house too. She hissed. Not anymore, Julius. Since Mama, your late mother, died, I've been the one taking care of this house. I have changed the roofs. Or can't you see they are new? If I was not here, you'd think you would still have the court to say your house, Zaram said mockingly. That night, Julius, out of pain and frustration, slept outside a wooden bench. The stars looked down at him like they wanted to cry, but he refused to break down. By the next week, Zaram had turned the children against him. They no longer answered when he called them. They won't greet him, even when they woke up in the morning or came back from school in the evening. Julius was asking Zaram if she took the money he had kept in his trousers. As they were having a little argument, Ebuka, his eldest son, who was preparing to go to the university, walked on them and said, You are not a real man. Real men take care of their families. Is it 2,000 naira that you are whimpering like a child? Did you buy even a shirt for me? Julius wanted to shout. He wanted to explain, but was lost for words. He could say nothing. He was heartbroken and shattered. He could not believe his eldest son, Ebuka, now raising his voice and talking down on him like that. It was beyond painful, but it was also revealing. That evening, as Julius sat on the bench, looking at the stars, he had lots of thoughts. He muttered to himself, people would only respect what they see. They only love money, not the man. Ebuka, my son, that is barely 18, talking down on me at how miserable life could be. Zaram, I made sure was very comfortable, did everything for her and her family. Zaram, who would almost worship me, was still Odogu. See how funny life is. Surprises. I have now turned my children against me just because I have not. His eyes teary. His heart ached. A week passed and it was the birthday of their youngest son, Toby. Toby had just turned 12. Just had saved money to buy him a small cake from the nearby town market. Nothing fancy, just a round vanilla cake with his name on it. When he came home, hoping it would melt the ice, Zaram was making jollof rice and Toby was dressed in a fine blue shirt and trousers. Other children of their neighbors were excited, balloons tied to the ceiling, when Julius walked in with a cake. Happy birthday, my son, said, kneeling and stretching the cake. Toby looked confused. Then he looked at Zaram, who just stepped into the living room from the kitchen. Immediately, Zaram's eyes turned cold. Where did you get this cake from? Did you beg again? Bring that close to my son. Oh, now, Zaram, what an insult, said calmly. I bought it. The money from the work I've been doing. Or can't I buy something for my son again? But Zaram only hissed. Already have a cake, a beautiful one for that matter. We don't need your pity cake, okay? Other children stared. Nobody took the cake. Julius stood there frozen. He felt so miserable. Later that evening, Julius ate the cake by himself behind the house, but it tasted like dust. It had nothing since morning. He did not want to cry. Eventually he did. He cried his soul out that night. However, 2 years later, Julius was walking along the road in the village. He had just finished cultivating Chief Uzo's farmland. He was so tired and hungry. He was walking in the middle of the road, lost in thoughts. The hooting from a car behind him startled him back to reality. The driver of the car was screaming and angry at him. Oga, you want to get yourself killed? Who doesn't have problem in this life, eh? Look lost. Julius halted. I'm very sorry, sir. I was just lost in thoughts, Julius replied sadly, as he quickly stepped aside to the side of the road. Ewo, Ogam. Julius. Good evening, sir. Julius looked curious, trying to figure out who he was. So, do I know you? He asked. Yes, sir. I'm Martin Zube's only son, Chima. The one you sponsored his trip to Hong Kong 15 years ago. Oh, Chima! Chima drew close, bowing and greeting Julius. My son, how are you doing? How is business, sir? How are you doing? Almost got yourself killed. I don't know what it is. To take it easy, sir. My son, you will not understand. Life has been so unfair. Sir, what happened to you? You look different, asked desperately. He was so shocked and could not believe his eyes. Knowing the wealth and affluence, Julius commanded, "The past." "What really happened?" Chima asked again. "My son, it's a long story. Please, let's enter the car. I will drop you off at your house. We can talk further," Chima said humbly. "No, my son. Let's talk here in your car. I'm fine here." That was how Julius narrated his ordeal and how he was scammed and went to prison. This is so heartbreaking. You mean you went to jail? I spent over 9 years there. If not for God's favor and mercy, I'd still be there now. The governor of Lagos State gave me a state pardon. I was discharged and acquitted. But my son, my life has never remained the same. They are looking at me now. The only thing I have in this world is my life, these clothes I'm putting on. That's all. I have lost my wife and my 3 sons. They rejected me after I returned from the correctional facility. Julius continued sadly. I've only been able to keep body and soul together these years that I returned to the village, only by God's grace. It has not been easy for me, my son. Chima listened and looked at Julius in disbelief. This is so sad. A kind and generous man like you, man of affluence, would suddenly become poor because of man's wickedness. To another man means that God will judge those fraudsters. If a man reap, he will sow, not go free, sir. My son, I have left everything in the hands of God. He alone knows how best to treat those fraudsters that have brought me to penury. I still thank God I have life. I must sympathize with Julius and offered him some money. "Sir, I know this is small, but you have to manage this for now. I'll come and see you. Let me drop you off at your house." "My son, don't bother. I'm fine." But Chima insisted. Julius came down. At the road led to his house, he thanked Chima and Chima drove off. A few months later, Julius was at home, resting. He was lying on the bench under the mango tree when a sleek car drove into the compound. He was not expecting anyone. He quickly sat up as the car pulled in front of the compound, and the young man, dressed in a silky, elegant outfit, stepped out of the car. He exuded confidence and had a calm and welcoming demeanor. He smelt of wealth. This, sir. As he walked towards Julius, "My son Chima, you are welcome," Julius exclaimed happily. "You came home?" "Yes, sir. I returned 2 days ago, so I decided to come and see you." "How is your mother?" Julius asked. "She's doing well, sir. Please, I want to discuss something important with you." So they walked to Chima's car and had some discussions, and Chima drove off after some time. Zaram peeped through the window, trying to know if she could recognize his face, but he looked unfamiliar. A week later, Julius was dressed in a simple Ankara outfit. He was carrying his small bag, which contained his 2 clothes. "Are you now going to the city to beg?" Zaram asked. "Zaram, you never wish me well. You like my condition. You forget I'm still your husband and the father of our sons." "Let me still remind you," Julius said sadly. As they were still talking, the hooting of a car could be heard, and it was Chima. "I have to leave now." So Julius quickly walked to Chima's car and they traveled to the city. Julius lived in Chima's house, Onitsha, for 2 years. Chima had loaned him some millions of naira that Julius used to start up his building material business, which was his main business before he delved into contracts. 5 years later, Julius has now bounced back financially. He was now living in his own house and had bought himself a beautiful car. He had 3 shops in the city. That year's Christmas Eve, Julius traveled and decided to hide his new status to his sons and his wife. When Zaram saw him, she opened the door that evening. Zaram only hissed and walked away, did not say a word to him. Julius, poorly dressed, hiding his identity and wanting to test his wife and sons. Night, Julius had to go to bed on empty stomach. To his amazement, his 2 younger sons were at home, not to welcome him. Neither were they excited to see him. At night, Julius slept on the floor. The next day, Chima came to the compound with his car, some foodstuff and other things. After some conversation with Chima, Julius thanked Chima. Chima went back to his house in the village. Julius later on called a meeting that day, insisting his younger brother, who has built a house and had never talked to him for over 6 years now, be present at the meeting. With his uncles and kinsmen, made sure there was lots of food to eat and drink. They were all surprised when Julius narrated his story, how God have restored back his finances, how God used Chima, changed his story, from penury to riches. His brother Deusier and his niece pleading with him, to Zaram and their sons. Well, Zaram, you are still my wife, and these are my sons. That I cannot deny. But one thing I will not do. I cannot live with you as a family. You betrayed me, abandoned me when I needed you most, Zaram. Never respected or loved me, only respecting my wealth. Loved my fame, not me. See, God used this condition to open my eyes, to see the true identity of those I called my own, that I thought loved me. I'm still in dismay. See, spent my hard-earned money. I never bought a new shoe for myself, a shirt or trouser. Many years ago, when I was still an apprentice, what did I not do for you? I set up the business used today to build this house. When the table turned for me, you slighted me, abandoned me. I looked back, I was nothing to you. For your information, as I traveled back to the city, you will never see me again. I've told Chima and my kinsmen, any day I die, you bury me in my maternal home. You remember, told me that this is your house. It was no longer mine. I'm not here to banter words with you. The house belongs to you and our sons, and I'm fine. So happy you are doing so well for yourself. Our sons showed and proved that they don't need me in their lives. They are okay for them. Even though it's hit me hard all these years, I've come to live with it. This is my current reality. I accept it. A few days later, Julius returned back to Onisha and never married, nor did he return back to his village. He could not afford to love again. He felt every woman would always betray him. Zaram and her sons lived to regret what they did to Julius. Luka and his brothers hated their mother, blamed, turning them against their father. Zaram lived the remaining of her life in regret. Julius wrote his will to some of their neighbors who took care of him when he returned to the village, and also to charity. Thank you so much for watching this story, and I know we have learned a lot of lessons from this story. Please, let's share our thoughts in the comment section. Give this story a thumbs up, share with your loved ones, and subscribe if you have not subscribed to this channel. Until I come again with another beautiful story, stay blessed and bye!